Hello, and welcome to the Venue Coach Blueprint for Owners. I'm Kyle Labar. This podcast is all about helping you fill your wedding venue with more bookings, earn more from each one, and keep your customers happy for a long time. We'll also talk about some tough times and big lessons that I've learned along the way. Let's dive in together and make your venue the best spot for weddings. Welcome back to the Venue Coach. I'm Kyle Labar, and today I wanted to talk about hiring a manager and compensating the manager. So if you're a venue owner who's doing it yourself, I want to give you some actionable items to get yourself out of that position and get yourself more into the managing the manager, which is great. And if you already have a manager, maybe this will help you to get them up to speed better, or at least fix their compensation structure, which might be hard to do if they're already in. But this is good information regardless. Hopefully, you can use it to just amplify your venue. So let's dive in. Really, what you want to look for with a venue for the venue is a manager who has great communication skills, preferably comes from a customer service background, because they're the most important role. They handle all the sales, so sales is a very important skill for them to have. How often are they following up? Are they reaching out? Are they communicating well with the client? And on the back end, how are they doing for your couples? Are they setting up a good cadence? Are they checking in? Are they acting like a fairy godparent, which is the term we like to use? Uh, Turning pumpkins into carriages and mice into horses to get Cinderella to the ball is the goal here. And so, are they doing that? Are they making sure that they're a resource and a guide for your couples so that things are handled in a timely manner and they're ready, and that the stress of the big day is being reduced every time they interact? And so those are the things that you want to look for. So when we interviewed our manager that we hired, she came from hotels, which is awesome, and from gyms working on the sales side of things. So she actually had both of the skills that we were looking for. And the great thing about the hotel industry is that uh, she has dealt with far worse things than a disgruntled mother or mother-in-law or a bridezilla. And so that really sets the perspective, and she's able to handle things that are far worse than those from the stories that she's told us. And so it gave us a lot of confidence that she'd be able to properly care and handle our clients, even when they're letting the stress of the big day get to them. And so that was great. And then she has the sales experience. She's motivated to get more bookings. And so that's just a win-win. And so our first month of hiring her, she had 19 tours and she booked 12 of them, which is an 86%, oh, I'm sorry, a 63% conversion rate. The 86 was the show rate. We had 3 canceled no shows. So we had 86% of all of our tours that were scheduled show up, and 63% of them she closed. And so that's awesome. And we shoot for above 50% as our minimum. So we set metrics for our managers to hit. And one of those is you have to maintain 50% conversion rate. The other thing that we have is you have to have X number of minimum monthly bookings, and that number should be based on the number that you need to break even with his or her pay involved, plus one more. And so if you do that, then you have a minimum booking rate, and that's the expectation. And then we structure the compensation based on that. But we'll get into that in a second. I want to keep talking about just the thing that you want to look for when you're hiring. So sales experience, follow-up, communication, all of that. The first impression of your venue is not when they come to the door to tour. The first impression is what happens when they hit submit on the contact form. How quickly do you or your manager respond, and can they lead them along to the path of schedule the tour? And so you want to look for somebody who is going to follow up immediately, within 5 minutes, ideally, if they're able. And that's another parameter that we set from the beginning. We said, hey, here is your expectation on follow-up. And is she perfect at it? Not always, but she meets the intent, which is to follow up as quickly as possible. If she's on a tour, not a problem, totally understand. But if she's not, then we want to see the action. If they're reaching out at 11 p.m., do I expect her to respond? Nope, but first thing in the morning, you betcha. So that's the expectation that we set right from the beginning. So we actually have a position contract that we use, and the employee signs it, the COO, the owner, CEO, whoever signs it, and saying that, hey, these are the commitments that this is the job requirement, this is what you're going to do. So we start there, and then let's talk about compensation. Now, this is what we have done. This is not a end-all be-all way to do this, but it's what we have found that works, and what we have found didn't work so well when you have a bad manager. And we've had a bad manager, one that was costing us about $1,500 a day in missed opportunities, and that went on for too long. And so just think about that. If you have a bad manager who isn't converting, who is wasting all of your opportunities, whose conversion rate's below 50%, then you have a bad manager. And if that's you as the owner, then the great news is that you are vested and want to learn and get better. And so let's do that. And that's the good thing. And if your conversion rate is that low and you're doing it, then let's get better. And if it's a manager, then let's get someone better. And so we can definitely point you in the right direction on that. So now let's talk about compensation. So when we had our bad manager, we were just paying her a flat amount a month, and it wasn't really based on anything. And we had talked about doing a commission, but she just wasn't good, and so there was no commission to pay out because she just wasn't good. And so what we found when we replaced her, we restructured the compensation. We found that this model really worked well for us. So we took the amount that we wanted to pay. So let's say an arbitrary, you want to pay $4,000 a month. Okay, so $4,000 a month. Now we want to have our minimum of, let's just say your minimum plus one, so your break-even amount plus one in bookings is 5. Let's just say for argument's sake. So now that minimum is 5. So and then what's your stretch goal? You want to get to 10 a month. So you divide 4,000 by 10, that's 400 a month, and you multiply that by your 5. So you're going to pay a base rate of $2,000. But the requirement is that she gets, or he gets, 5 bookings each month to account for the $2,000 that you're going to spend out. And then anything above that is the additional $400. And so if you do it that way, then they're highly motivated to get the extra bookings because they're going to see $400 every single time. Now, you can price this however you need to based on your own venue and your own booking rates and, all of that. But that's the structure that we have found to be really useful and really motivating. Then on the back end, our main goal is to get 10 every month with a total of 120 a year. And so we give an additional incentive at the end of the year if those goals are hit. So we say, hey, you're in this example, 5 is your minimum. You don't get any extra bonuses, any commissions above that. If you're only hitting 5. Now, if you get 6 one month, you'll make an extra $400. But if it was 4 the next month and your average is still 5, we don't take away the commission, anything like that. But we don't pay anything out. So then the bonus, the year-end bonus, is based on being above that threshold. So in this example, it would be extra payment for 7 average so the 12-month average. 6, 7, 8, 9, on up to 10, and then 10 plus. And so if they're able to crush it from there, then we want to reward them. They want to feel as if they can, and it really is, you want to pay them for their good work. And so that's the structure that we found that really works well for us. If you guys have other ideas or other structures that have really worked that resonate with your managers that get them motivated, I'm all ears. I am always on the quest to figure out what works the best. And so far, this structure has been what works the best for us. And so maybe that might work good for you. And if you got something that might work better, I'm all ears. I'd love to hear about it. Let me know what you guys think, and we will catch up on the next one. Hope you enjoyed it. Hope you got some good value at it. And if you're thinking that you might have a bad manager, uh, probably you do. I would look at the conversion rates. Look at the conversion rates and then the number of bookings that they're getting. So those are the key indicators. If they're not booking a lot and their conversion rate sucks, then that's a them problem. If their conversion rate's great, but they're not booking a lot, that sounds like a marketing problem. And then we can address that in another episode. But for right now, that's what I got. Hope you got good value out of it. And I'll catch you on the next one.